Welcome to the party. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Kind of Everything, where we talk about everything and anything. This is your host, Naz and Tommy. Before we get to the nitty and gritty of this topic today, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a life update, a little bit of a timestamp. I think I will do this on every other episode where it matters, where we need to, just so we can see how I'm progressing in life if I do. And it's kind of like a little bit of a journal for me. So I kind of like that I can listen back maybe in the future and see, oh my God, I've done this and I've done that. So the first little life update is mid-May. I did run the Hackney Half Marathon. Yes, I will be talking about this. I had a few DMs of people asking me why I run the half marathon. I was having a little bit of a breakdown. I felt like I wasn't achieving anything or accomplishing anything. And I thought, I should run a marathon. I got all 5 of my friends to sign up with me, of course. Only one of them ran. However, he was a fast runner than me, so he was ahead. I've lost him. But I did make friends during the marathon, so that was great. So thank you to all the girly paps and all the people who kind of motivate me to run that marathon. And without any practice, without any carb overload, without any sleep, I accomplished it. 13.1 miles, major. I don't even know how far that is. To this day, don't know. But I could say I got very emotional during the run. I was like, what the frick am I doing? I miss my mom. I think I saw 4 kilometers and I was like, God damn, like we still got a long way to go. And after 4 kilometers, I couldn't see any more signage of the next kilometers. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, couldn't see them. So I thought maybe they don't have any banners up for those. So I was running, 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 on the verge of giving up. And I met a lovely girl who told me we are now at 10. Holy crap. I was thinking we were at 5 kilometers. We're at 10. I'm halfway. I gotta keep going. It was exhausting. It was emotional. It was definitely a shock to the system. But I'm so proud of myself for accomplishing that and removing that off my bucket list. Will I ever do it again? Hell no. I would not be running again. Don't invite me to 5Ks, any walks around the park. Not doing it. Thank you very much. The next major update is that I resigned from my job. Yay! And boy, oh boy, let me tell you guys, if you didn't know, and you probably didn't know, that this company has been so soul sucking for me. And I've been working with them for 5 years. It was about damn time. I resigned 2 weeks ago, effective immediate, and I'm now working in a new job, which I'm in the process in training, and I'm so much more happier. I feel like it could be a job that I would be very much passionate about, so I'm excited. What a beautiful segue, you may say. Now let's talk about today's topic on why I almost quit nursing. Just to preface, I'm not going to be mentioning any names of any companies or any staff or any buildings or anything anywhere. I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get struck off the nursing council list of nurses. I'm happy how I am. However, I will be speaking on my own personal experiences and my own personal opinions on my experience as a nurse. I've been a nurse for 8 whole years. For some of you, I just want to clarify as well. This topic may not be any interest to you. You might think nursing, what the hell? That's so irrelevant to where I am in life. Fair enough. I also want to put in a disclaimer that I'm in no shape, way, or form trying to put anyone off nursing. Like I said, these are just my experiences. Please take that as a grain of salt, with a grain of salt. Sorry. So, just a bit of a backstory. I went to uni for adult nursing and I studied 3 years at Cambridge, where I graduated. And with nursing, you have to go on placement. So, yes, you're doing theory side of things, your lectures, your classes, your exams, but you also have other days where you have to go work in the hospital. Student nurses do work in hospitals for free. We don't get paid for that. I was also working on the weekend, so really I had no time off. But nonetheless, we made it out the journey and I graduated uni. Yay. So, my first job was my dream job. I knew at a very young age that I was going to work in this hospital. I've almost manifested it. I was born in this hospital. I was volunteering in this hospital when I was in secondary school on weekends. And my whole existence surrounded around working at this hospital. I wanted this to be my place, you know? So I knew where I was going for work. You know, when they tell you to never meet your idols because your perception of them can change? This hospital was my idol and my perception had changed. I worked in a medical short stay unit, so patients would come through A&E, then they will be moved to the medical short stay unit where they will stay for 24 to 48 hours if we can help it. Then once you're stabilized and you're happy and dappy, you'll move on to the wards or you'll be discharged straight home. It was a very fast-paced job. Nothing was the same. It was cool. I had fun. You know, I was learning so much. It was exciting. It was like adrenaline rush for me. However, this job very quickly became hell for me. And not because of the patients, not because of the building, but because of the nurses. The nursing staff, specifically the senior nursing staff, very quickly humbled me and crushed my dreams. I was in this hospital for 4 years, just to give you an example, and I was bullied very bad, where I was having nightmares and I was crying before a shift. I thought I was gonna do something wrong and the consequences will catch up to me. Just to give you a bit of a understanding in nursing, there is a hierarchy. Now they don't like to call it a hierarchy, but it is exactly that. Once you graduate from nursing, you'll be a band 5, and throughout the years with specialization and education, you'll be a band 6, or aside of education and specialization, years of experience and favoritism might bump you up to a band 6 and then eventually a band 7, a band 8, and so forth. I don't really care about the bands. Anyways, so I was essentially a worm in this hierarchy and I was newly qualified, fresh out the education system, and straight onto their laps. And boy, oh boy, did they chew me up and spit me out. So, what made this experience horrible for me was one of the band 6 senior nurses did not like me. Now, when one does not like you, apparently they all don't like you. And I didn't know that. That was a surprise to me, too. I thought one person doesn't like me, poof, I don't care. I'll be fine. I'm here to work. I'm not here to make buddies buddies. I was wrong. They all didn't like me. I didn't know why. To this day, I still don't know why, and I probably don't care. At the time, though, it did feel like my world was crushing apart. It was a major life lesson for me. I was being watched like a hawk. I was constantly being quizzed and questioned. And it felt like I was committing a crime. Like everything I did felt like was being, why are you doing that? I would say hi to them. I would be ignored. I'll ask for their help. Again, I was ignored. It was a very humbling experience, I would say, for me. I very quickly understood that this wasn't gonna be rainbows and sunshines for me. You know, I'm not gonna be in Grey's Anatomy, Meredith Grey. I was going to be crawling my way into something, into comfortableness is what it was. But so one day I had a meeting with my manager. She just randomly called me into the room. Now, just keep in mind, this is the manager that interviewed me and wanted me to come and work on her ward. So I was called into the meeting room. She wanted to speak to me. I was like, I don't know what this is about. Nothing on my agenda. As I walk into the room, the band 6 nurse who hates me apparently walks out. I was like, great, this can't be good. So I sit there, twiddling my thumb, hella nervous, heart is pitter pattering all the way. And she's just giving me petty excuses on why she doesn't think I'm fit for the role. She doesn't like the way I make the beds. She doesn't like this. She doesn't like this. And I'm thinking these are weak excuses. She's clutching for straws. I obviously don't agree with her every time she tries to bring something up. I feel like I'm like, what? No one's ever complained of me doing XYZ. What are you talking about? She tells me she had a complaint from someone about something. It was all about the jibber jabber rubbish. I'm very stubborn. Like I knew when I was in secondary school that I was gonna work here. You're telling me I'm not fit for the job? Fire me then. If you genuinely think I'm not fit for the job. Fire me." However, she couldn't. I was stubborn. I knew I wanted to quit this job on my own accord, and I didn't want to quit at the time. I wasn't a quitter. I don't know why I was so stubborn after all the bullying. I should have freaking ran. But I was like, no, I'm going to leave when I want to leave. And that is exactly what I did because I worked there for 4 years. I can give you guys another example of something that was truly devastating for me and was a major life lesson. It was a night shift on the ward, and I was working obviously with my nurses. And there was a medication that the doctor had prescribed, which I did not know what it was. Again, with my newly qualified brain, I Googled it. I was like, oh my God, like I've never heard of this medication before. What is this gibberish name? It was long. I just didn't know what it was. I'll be honest. Didn't know what the name was, but I also didn't know how to calculate the dosage. So with medications, you have a medication equation that you have to use to calculate dosage. It just didn't feel right. I didn't get it. The doctor had prescribed this amount. This is what the calculation is showing me. I was all over the place. So I was like, the best thing to do is call someone senior. So I called the nurse in charge, who is the band six nurse, and I asked for her help. So she tells me to meet her in the drug room. It's fine. I was like, okay, skibbity skibbity doo. I go to the drug room and I wait for her. I set everything up like a goody two shoe, just so she won't stress out too much, just so she doesn't run around picking things. I've set out nice and neat on the table and I'm waiting for her. She walks in. Of course, I understand that band six nurses are so busy, busy, busy. However, she walks in, she's prepping it, and she's so fast with it. She's like, "Yeah, this is a medication we see on the board all the time." She's talking to me, she's talking to them, she's talking to another person, and her hands are just moving so fast. I'm locked into her hands. I'm like, if this is a medication that comes on this board very often, I'm going to be memorizing the way she's prepping this because I need to understand. So I'm locked in on what she's doing. She's talking to me, she's talking to him, and she's talking to her in the room, but her hands are moving. She's multitasking essentially. So she finishes the prep, she signs for it, I sign for it because I'm the nurse. So you have to double sign every medication. Sorry, every IV medication, not every medication. Every intravenous medication has to be double signed. She signs for it, I sign for it, she hands me the tray, go administer it. And she runs off. She's busy. I get the tray. I'm like, okay, I've watched her do it. It's fine. Everything's fine. Past midnight, I go to my patient on C1, and it's a dementia patient. Good morning, Mr. Smith. Fake name, by the way. Good morning, Mr. Smith. I've just got your medication here. I'm just going to attach it and give you your medication. I'll let you get back to sleep. Great. Done that. I'm chilling. Then I look at my medication charts. The second dose of this medication comes round, and I'm like, okay, now that I know how to prep it, I can just go ahead because the nurse in charge showed me how to do it. I can just go do it now, and then I can get her to sign it with me. So, obviously, with her in the room. So, I walk into the drug room, and I'm about to start prepping things, like getting things out to put them on the table. And the doctor who prescribed the medication is in the room with me. And I'm talking to her, making conversation. I'm like, oh, the medication you prescribed, the second dose, this X dose, I'm about to prepare it. And she's like, what do you mean X dose? I don't know. Let me give you a number 10. What do you mean 10 milligrams of that? I was like, oh, that's what you put on the chart. That's what you want me to prescribe. That's what the calculation comes to anyway. No, I only want you to prescribe a fraction of that. And it's like a bucket of cold water flushes down my body. And I tell her, we prescribed the whole thing. Like we gave the patient the whole thing. She's looking at me like I'm the dumbest person on the planet. And you know what? Fair enough. Yes, I am because I didn't know. And I should have clarified and I shouldn't have signed. And I call the nurse in charge into the room and I explain, the doctor's with me. I explain, oh my God, it's not this dose, it's just a fraction of the dose. that we're supposed to give. And she turns to me and she goes, "Well, you've made a mistake." I looked at her and I go, "I've made a mistake? Or we've made a mistake?" And she goes, "Well, you've made a mistake." And in that moment, I felt like I was having an out of body experience. I said, "What do you mean, girl? I made a mistake?" I just, I was like, oh boy. I was panicking because now I know that the blame is on me. I was like, I thought we were, we were gonna. Nursing's all about admitting to your mistakes. I thought we were gonna admit, the NMC code of conduct is taking acknowledgement in your mistakes. This is what we're taught, throughout nursing and in nursing school and everything. But no, not here. No one's acknowledging that they've made a mistake here. This is NAS's fault. So I'm sitting there like, holy God, what am I gonna do? So I tell the doctor, okay, whatever. Someone's made a mistake. I've made a mistake. What do I do? And thank God it's not on life-threatening medication. So I was a bit dramatic in my POV, in my brain. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna struck me off the nursing council. NMC is gonna come get me. I'm not gonna be a nurse anymore. I've worked so hard for nothing. In my head, I'm making worst case scenarios. And the doctor's like, "Chill out, it's fine. It doesn't really affect the patient that, you're fine." I was like, "Oh, cool." So we obviously do the correct dose the second time, but the nurse in charge who had contributed to the mistake tells me, "You need to go tell the patient and the patient's family that you made a mistake." Again, I'm newly qualified. I've already been bullied by the bunch of them. In my mind, I'm thinking now the manager is gonna find a reason to fire me. You know, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave when I wanna leave. I'm gonna leave on my own accord. Not anymore, girl. You're gonna get fired. You've made a mistake. So I go to my Mr. Smith at C1 and I wake him up. It's now like 7 a.m. And I'm like, "Mr. Smith, I'm a piece of shit." I don't say that, obviously. I say, "Mr. Smith, I'm so sorry. I've made a mistake in the dosage of your medication." He has dementia. He has no idea what I'm talking about. But he's the sweetest old man. And he's patting my hand and he's telling me it's going to be okay. And in that moment, I wanted to cry. Honest to God, I was like, the fact that I've made my first mistake and I'm not getting the reassurance from my colleague, from the nurse who is in charge, but I'm getting it from a dementia patient. I was like, what is life coming to? So I also had to call his family and let them know and that he'll be fine. And the doctor also gave them reassurance. But that was such an experience for me. Obviously, the manager came in. She did call me in the office. She did tell me she heard about my little mistake. I had to reflect. So, reflection is essentially you writing a letter, a document of you reflecting on the situation, what happened, how you learned from it, and what you'll do next time. So, I wrote my reflection letter, gave it to the manager. She didn't even bother to read it. And we called it a dilly dally day. But that was honest to God the worst experience in the hospital that I had. I think also to summarize that experience, where I drew the line with the bullying was when there was a new qualified nurse on the ward who had been bullied from the nurse who was bullying me. I wrote an incident report and I reported it, and that nurse was taken away. And the newly qualified nurse, I'm hoping, was relieved of all the bullying. But I think everybody knew that I reported it because people were always like, "Did you, Nas?" And I was like, "I don't know who did it. It was me." It shouldn't happen, but it does happen. I know bullying happens in a lot of environments and a lot of workplaces, but why? Like nursing, you'd least expect. I don't know. It's just bizarre. Right. So my next horrid little experience was actually my previous job. Purely based on the fact that, like I said, it's a very soul-sucking job. The business only cares about the business. The business doesn't care about the patients. The business doesn't care about the staffing. The business cares that there are numbers to be met and you need to hurry up. So So the role was work from home and the pay was lovely. However, the job itself was a little bit ridiculous and felt a little bit inhumane. Unfortunately, I had the sad privilege of doing this job. I'm not going to mention the company or the nature of the job because, like I said, don't want to be sued. This is just my experience and my opinions of this role. I feel like some people might put two and two together and figure out what the role was and what function of the role is. But I'll let you guys decide on that. I'm not really gonna explain what that was. This is a job that I would definitely never recommend anyone to do because there's a lot of micromanaging. They care about targets. I know targets is a major thing in a lot of companies, but when target mixed with healthcare, I don't I don't know. I feel like it's not right. It's not right to mix business with healthcare. And I know healthcare is business, but I feel like when it comes to patients and as nurses, we're taught to be a patient advocate. We're taught to stand up for the patients. We're taught to defend the patients and, stand behind them and advocate for them. And in this role, you cannot advocate for anyone, not even for yourself. So essentially what the job is, I assess people throughout the day. So I was doing health assessments for people who had mental and physical health conditions. And it was day in, day out the same thing. You'd speak to various people throughout the day. You have to do it in a time frame. So for this job, I had to do everything under 70 minutes. Okay. So just over an hour. However, nine times out of 10, lately especially, the cases that were coming to my desk were not simple cases where someone had one condition or two condition or a foot fracture or asthma or just diabetes and call it a day, assess them and shove them out the door essentially is what this company wanted us to do. We would have people who had like 15 and 20 conditions. Now, if you expect me to do a call for someone who has one or two conditions for 70 minutes, the whole report included, how the hell am I going to be doing this for someone with 20 conditions or 15 conditions? However, when I used to argue this, managers and higher ups will always tell me business needs. It is what the business is expecting from you. I couldn't really ever get anywhere with this. I would just take my time at some point. I was like, I've got someone who's crying on the phone. I've got someone who's struggling to breathe. I'm not going to be looking at the time and thinking, actually, you need to go. I get mad when my GP tells me I only have a 10-minute session. Why am I doing this to other people? Especially with the level of detail and personalization this company was asking from us. It was near enough impossible to do a case all on the 70 minutes. Again, it was very difficult because it felt like it was a little bit unfair too. It was very inconsistent. I feel like everyone's opinions with the grading system and marking the reports, it was all over the place. Everyone was just doing it felt like what felt right to them. So I would have a report that I would have to write, and someone who I've spoken to, like a 55-year-old lady who has breathing problems and COPD, and she's struggling to breathe. And I can hear on the phone that she's struggling to breathe, but somehow it she didn't meet the criteria of not working because she wasn't on inhalers and she wasn't on specialists. But we also know that the NHS takes months and months to refer you to a specialist, and you can try all the inhalers in the world, and if they don't help, they don't help. I'm not gonna get into a rabbit hole of this job, but it was very the scales weren't matching. They wanted us to type up things very fast, and then they would kind of make us ask these triggering and sensitive questions. And then when we say, it's asking these questions are making the patients angry or the patients cry, they'll be like, it's what the criteria is, it's what the higher ups and the government wants. And I'm like, where are we going with all of this? Like, why are we triggering people? It'll be very sensitive things. Just a trigger warning. I'm gonna mention suicide. For mental health patients would have to ask about suicide. And that is unfortunately not enough. They need to know more. So they would make us asked the last time you attempted, what happened? Where did it happen? What did they do? Did you go to like silly little stuff? And while I'm asking the people these questions, the patients are listening to looking at me thinking, why the hell are you triggering me right now? Like you're making me think about it again. And I'm like, I don't want you to think about it again, but the part of the assessment is these questions. This is what they want. And it was just very I feel like I'm such a sensitive person. It just triggered me a little bit too. Hearing people's suicidal attempts every damn day was triggering me and it was depressing me. I would like switch off my laptop at 5, 6 p.m. and I'll start crying and I'll be struggling to sleep. Ugh, it's just so difficult. I wish there was like a whole different system for this that wasn't treating like that wasn't making people feel like crap at the end of it. But I guess business needs. Yeah, so that's a few of my horror stories. I'm not trying to put anyone off nursing. These are just my experience that made me almost quit the nursing profession. Just to preface, I love nursing. I've worked so hard for it and it's all I've ever known. I sometimes think if I can go back, would I do nursing? I don't know, but I'm here now. I love it. It's what I've done for my entire life. And yeah, that's all. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to follow the podcast, leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, please, and share it with someone who you think might enjoy. If there's ever a topic that you want me to discuss, please leave it in the comments. You can find kind of everything on Spotify for audio episodes and on YouTube for the full video experience. Until next time, take care of yourself and be kind to yourself. Bye bye. Love ya. Mwah.